It was a brisk September morning in downtown Chicago. The sun peeked through towering glass buildings, throwing golden rays onto the streets that were alive with honking horns, food carts steaming, and hurried footsteps of commuters. The crisp air carried a faint blend of roasted chestnuts from a street vendor and the sweet vanilla scent wafting out of a bakery. Inside Ground Up Cafe, a bustling corner coffee shop with brick walls and Edison bulbs dangling from the ceiling, people shuffled in and out, business professionals in tailored suits, students in oversized hoodies, and nurses still in scrubs. Olivia Carter, a 32-year-old marketing executive with wavy chestnut hair pulled into a neat ponytail, stood in line juggling her phone, laptop bag, and planner. She wore a navy blue blazer over a cream blouse, pressed black trousers, and black flats, the sort of "I'm prepared for anything" look that she hoped would impress in the boardroom later. She had been rehearsing her big presentation in her head all morning. Today was supposed to be the day she proved herself worthy of a promotion. Finally, she ordered 1 caramel latte, extra shot, almond milk. The barista, a young man with tattoos peeking under his rolled sleeves, scribbled her name in a hurry. When her order came up, Olivia grabbed the warm paper cup with both hands, eager for that first comforting sip. She pushed the cafe door with her hip while scanning an email. But the moment she stepped onto the busy sidewalk, her heel caught on a crack in the pavement. The world slowed down, her latte tilted, her arm jerked, and the caramel-colored liquid cascaded down her blouse in a disastrous splash. Gasps from strangers echoed as the hot coffee splattered not only her but also dotted the gray sidewalk like abstract art. "Seriously?" Olivia muttered, frozen, staring at the brown stain spreading across her cream blouse. The silky fabric clung to her, sticky and damp, a sharp contrast to the crisp image she had curated for the day. People glanced for a moment, some with pity, others with suppressed smirks, and then moved on. A cyclist rang his bell impatiently as he swerved around her. Olivia's cheeks flushed redder than a traffic light. Her perfect morning, she thought, had just been ruined. Life has a strange way of humbling us at the worst possible time. You prepare, you polish, you dress to impress, and then, a crack in the pavement and a coffee cup remind you that control is often just an illusion. But sometimes, the mess that feels like a breakdown is actually a doorway. Messy starts can have sweet endings. Olivia didn't know it yet, but this stain on her blouse was about to rewrite her entire day, and maybe her entire career. Olivia dabbed uselessly at her blouse with flimsy napkins from her bag, but the caramel-colored blotch only smeared wider. She could already hear her boss's voice in her head. "Presentation day is about presence, Olivia. Look sharp, act sharper." She sighed, ready to call it quits, when a voice broke through. "You okay there?" She turned to see Daniel Brooks, a 35-year-old architect with sandy blonde hair, casually styled, wearing a light gray sweater over a collared shirt and dark jeans. He carried a leather messenger bag, a cup of black coffee in one hand, and a calm smile that felt oddly grounding in the chaos. Olivia forced a laugh. "Do I look okay?" Daniel chuckled. "Depends. Are you auditioning for a coffee commercial? You've nailed the before shot." Despite herself, Olivia cracked a small smile. "Big meeting today. And now I look like I wrestled with a latte and lost." Without hesitation, Daniel set his bag down, pulled out a neatly folded handkerchief, and offered it to her. "Here, at least this isn't from the paper napkin family tree." She hesitated, then accepted. The cloth soaked up the sticky mess better than the napkins had. "Thanks. I'm Olivia." "Daniel," he replied, adjusting the strap of his bag. "There's a dry cleaner 2 blocks down. You've got time before 10 a.m., Olivia sighed. "But it's already almost 9, and I've got slides to review." Daniel tilted his head thoughtfully. "Slides will wait. Promotions don't happen because your blouse is spotless. They happen because you can think on your feet. Consider this your practice round." The words stuck with her. Was this stranger right? Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again with another email. She glanced at Daniel, half grateful, half annoyed that life was teaching her lessons through spilled coffee and random men on sidewalks. Sometimes help doesn't come from the people we expect, our bosses, our mentors, our families, but from strangers who pause long enough to notice our mess. And maybe, just maybe, that interruption is exactly what we need. Olivia was used to controlling every detail, but Daniel's calm reminder hinted that not all detours are disasters. Some are detours to perspective. By the time Olivia reached Stratton Meyer's marketing agency, the morning sun had climbed higher, and the city pulsed with energy. Glass towers glimmered like mirrors of ambition, taxis honked in stubborn rhythm, and food trucks lined the curb with sizzling breakfast burritos and bacon sandwiches. She stepped into the sleek marble lobby, blouse faintly damp but improved thanks to Daniel's handkerchief. The receptionist, a young woman in a smart black dress, raised an eyebrow at Olivia's slightly disheveled look but said nothing. The elevator ride felt eternal. Olivia caught her reflection in the polished metal walls. Her blazer was fine, her hair still neat, but the faint brown stain peeked through like a scar of imperfection. On the 18th floor, colleagues bustled about. Men in slim suits debated over stock market updates, women in stylish pencil skirts carried iced coffees, and interns darted like caffeinated squirrels with folders stacked to their chins. The culture here was sharp, competitive, and relentlessly polished. "Olivia, ready?" called Marcus Green, her boss, a tall man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair, sharp glasses, and a reputation for expecting flawlessness. He wore a pinstripe suit that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied with a forced smile, clutching her laptop bag. Marcus glanced at her blouse but didn't comment, though his raised eyebrow said enough. Olivia's stomach twisted. The coffee spill wasn't just a stain, it was a flashing sign of vulnerability in a place where vulnerability was weakness. She took a deep breath as she followed Marcus into the conference room where the presentation awaited. The long mahogany table was lined with executives, each with their own steaming coffee cups, ready to judge. There's a moment before every test where doubt whispers louder than preparation. A stained blouse, a raised eyebrow, a room full of eyes waiting for you to stumble. Sometimes that's all it takes to unravel confidence. But courage isn't about the absence of stains. It's about walking into the room anyway. Olivia was about to learn that strength doesn't come from looking untouchable, it comes from daring to be real. The lights dimmed slightly as Olivia's slides lit up the screen. She steadied her breath, remembering Daniel's words. "Promotions don't happen because your blouse is spotless." She began, voice slightly shaky at first. "Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting our campaign proposal for the Monroe account." But as she clicked through slides, something unexpected happened. Her nerves eased, her passion took over, and her words flowed with conviction. She gestured naturally, her eyes brightening as she painted the vision of a campaign that wasn't just numbers and slogans, it was connection, humor, and culture. Halfway through, she noticed Marcus's stern face soften. One executive leaned forward, intrigued. Another scribbled notes. Olivia realized something profound. No one cared about her blouse anymore. They cared about her ideas. At the end, a hush filled the room before applause broke out, polite at first, then stronger. Marcus gave her a rare smile. "Impressive, Olivia. Very impressive." Her heart raced, but this time not with panic, with relief. When life spills on you, literally or figuratively, you have two choices. Let it define your day or let it remind you what really matters. Olivia's blouse wasn't flawless, but her voice was steady, her ideas sharp, and her heart resilient. And in that room of polished perfection, it was her imperfection that made her unforgettable. The presentation had ended, and applause still echoed in Olivia's ears as she stepped out of the conference room. The fluorescent lights of the hallway felt almost too bright after the darkened boardroom. Her legs trembled, but her chest swelled with relief. She had done it. She pressed the button for the elevator, clutching her laptop bag like it was a trophy. When the doors slid open, she stepped in and finally exhaled. Alone in the mirrored box, she caught sight of her stained blouse again, still there, still visible. But for the first time, she smiled at it. It no longer looked like defeat. It looked like proof that she had powered through. Just before the doors closed, a voice called out, "Hold the elevator." She quickly pressed the button. In stepped Rachel Collins, one of the younger executives who had been sitting in the meeting. Rachel was in her late 20s, with sleek blonde hair and a scarlet wrap dress that screamed confidence. She balanced a tablet in one hand and a latte in the other. "Great presentation, Olivia," Rachel said warmly. "Honestly, you owned that room." Olivia blinked, surprised. "Thanks. I wasn't sure anyone would get past." She gestured at the stain. Rachel laughed. "Please, do you know how many times I've spilled coffee on myself before a client pitch?" It happens. But you handled it with grace. That's what matters. The elevator chimed as it descended. Olivia realized she wasn't the only one who'd lived through messy starts. She wasn't alone in this. When the doors opened, Rachel offered a smile before heading off. Keep that confidence, Olivia. You're going places. Olivia stepped out into the lobby, her blouse still stained, but her spirit cleaner than it had been in years. Life loves to remind us that everyone spills sometimes. No one walks through this world spotless. Not the executives in red dresses, not the bosses in pinstripe suits, not the strangers with handkerchiefs. The secret isn't in avoiding the mess. The secret is in carrying yourself through it, smiling anyway, and realizing that the stain never mattered as much as the story it told. By late afternoon, the city had shifted into its golden hour glow. The streets bustled with a new rhythm, office workers ditching their ties, joggers weaving through sidewalks, delivery trucks unloading goods, and the faint hum of saxophone from a busker on the corner. Olivia's stomach reminded her she hadn't eaten since breakfast. On impulse, she ducked back into Ground Up Cafe, the same place where her morning had exploded in caramel latte disaster. The cafe buzzed with a different crowd now, college students tapping away at laptops, artists sketching by the window, couples sharing pastries. The smell of cinnamon rolls mixed with the bitter edge of freshly brewed espresso. As she stood in line, she heard a familiar voice. Hey, latte girl. She turned. Daniel, the architect who had rescued her with his handkerchief, was seated at a corner table with blueprints sprawled out. He waved her over. Olivia laughed, shaking her head. Is that my new nickname? Until proven otherwise, Daniel grinned. So, how'd the meeting go? Did the coffee stain win? Olivia slid into the chair across from him. Actually, no. I think it might have helped. Reminded me to stop obsessing over perfection. Daniel raised his cup in a mock toast. To messy starts. She clinked her water glass against it. And sweet endings. They shared a smile that felt strangely natural, as if this whole mess had been orchestrated to bring them back to this table. Sometimes life loops us back to where the spill began, but with new eyes, a new heart, and maybe even new company. The stain on Olivia's blouse hadn't disappeared, but the weight of it had. What once felt like disaster now felt like a doorway, to perspective, to connection, and maybe to something even sweeter. Later that evening, Olivia decided not to rush home to her quiet apartment. Instead, she wandered down to the Chicago Riverwalk, where the city lights reflected off the water in glittering ripples. Couples strolled hand in hand, joggers passed with earbuds in, and families stopped for photos against the skyline. She walked slowly, heels clicking against the stone path, blazer draped over her arm. The air was cooler now, tinged with the smell of street vendors grilling hot dogs. She stopped at a railing and leaned against it, staring at the river. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Marcus. Excellent job today. Let's talk promotion soon. Olivia's jaw dropped. She reread it 3 times before letting out a laugh that startled a passerby. The coffee spill hadn't ruined her, it had led her straight to her breakthrough. As she pocketed her phone, she noticed Daniel again, walking toward her with 2 cups of hot chocolate in hand. You again? She teased. Chicago's big, he replied with a grin. But not big enough to escape fate. Thought you might want something warm that won't stain. She accepted the cup, the warmth spreading through her fingers and chest. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace, with the city, with the chaos, with herself. Sweet endings don't always announce themselves with fireworks. Sometimes they arrive quietly, through a message that changes your future, through a stranger who becomes familiar, through the realization that what you thought ruined your day actually saved it. Olivia's coffee spill wasn't the end of her morning. It was the beginning of her story. 1 week later, the city hummed with its usual morning chaos. Olivia walked down the same block, blazer sharp, hair neatly tied, confidence radiating. She passed the very crack in the pavement that had tripped her before. She paused, staring at it for a moment, then smiled. Instead of bitterness, she felt gratitude. That tiny crack had led her to stumble into growth, into courage, and maybe into something more. She stepped into Ground Up Cafe once again. This time, she wasn't rushing. She wasn't juggling 10 things at once. She ordered her caramel latte, extra shot, almond milk, exactly the same as before. When the barista handed it over, she took a steady sip and walked carefully outside. The sun warmed her shoulders, the city roared around her, and her heart felt lighter than it had in years. At the corner, Daniel was waiting, coffee in hand. He raised it with a grin. "No spills today?" he asked. "Not today," Olivia replied, smiling back. They fell into step together, 2 cups of coffee, 2 new stories, and a reminder that sometimes the messiest starts really do have the sweetest endings. Life isn't about spotless mornings or flawless presentations. It's about the spills, the stains, the strangers who stop to help, and the courage to keep walking even when you feel exposed. Messy starts can teach us resilience, humility, and sometimes even lead us to the people who make the journey worthwhile. So next time the coffee spills, remember, maybe it's not a disaster. Maybe it's the universe saying, slow down. Something sweeter is coming.
Like and subscribe if you want daily dose of happiness and motivation.